Okay, good evening. Sorry about that. I got kicked out of the UN meeting, so I had to join back in. So I think I'm back in now, but something happened and crashed. Okay, so all right. So today we're gonna do a little review for the exam, the take-home exam. So let me just pull up the syllabus. So we've done almost after today the first third of the course, which is I guess chapters 1 through 5. Okay, and then we're going to do a little review for the final, not the final, but the midterm. And then I'll post the midterm after today's class. And so the chapter 5 homework is due today sometime. And so most of you turn that in, but make sure you get the chapter 5 homework in tonight sometime if you have not done that. The plan for today. So I prepared a practice exam, which will be similar to the exam that you're going to have to take home. So the plan for tonight so the plan for tonight is to go through the practice exam. We'll solve the problems via WebEx, and that'll prepare you for the exam, which I'll post after we do this. Okay, so if you want to open up, they're both the same. Well, I'll pull up the PDF, and then and so also the exam's going to be due via email. There's instructions on the exam, but it'll be due email, not to the discussion forum. All right, so if you go on Blackboard and you go to midterm 1, fall 2020, which is here, you'll see that there's a practice exam, a PDF, and a Word document. Let me pull up the PDF first, and then we'll solve it on the Word document. Okay, so this is the practice exam. You're not going to turn this in. We're going to solve it in class right now together. So you'll have, there's basically one question similar to the homework questions that we've been doing. And I think there's one question for each of the 5 chapters. So like the first question is in chapter 1 and so on. So there's 5 questions. The first one will be on the budget line analysis we did in chapter 1. The second one will be kind of calculating the revenue, cost, and profit that we did in chapter 2. Number 3 will be on supply and demand, where you solve for the price and quantity, and then state what happens when one of the curves shifts or both of the curves shift. And number 4 will be on our favorite topic, elasticity, and there'll be a question on that. And then the last one from the chapter 5 we did last week will be on taxes. Okay, and so these types of questions will look familiar from the homework questions, assuming you did those, and so shouldn't be any surprises. But let's go through this practice exam, and then you should be prepared for the take-home exam, which will be very similar to this. All right, let's open up the practice exam in the Word document. Okay, here we go. All right, so this, again, you're not going to turn this one in. This is the practice. It's just, so this is what the midterm is going to look like. It's going to say submitted via email by next Wednesday. Okay, so let's look at an example of the first one that we did the very first week. So let's suppose that our budget's $10, and we're going to spend all of our income on coconuts and melons, and the price of coconuts is $2, and the price of melons is $1. All right. So part A, which we've done a few times, is construct a table showing the alternative combinations of the two products that are available. So what are all the combinations of coconuts and melons in which you can exhaust your budget? All right. So I'll do this part in Excel. And again, you're welcome to do your exam graphs and charts in Excel, or some of you in the homework just did them by hand on graphing paper. So either way is fine, as long as you answer the question thoroughly. Excel, no Excel, whatever is the best way for you to solve this type of question. So let me just pull up a spreadsheet, and I'll do this real quick. Okay, and so after we solve this, I'll post the solution. And so I thought it'd be better to go through, kind of start from scratch and just to go through the questions, because normally I have them already solved, and so this might be better just to kind of go step by step. Okay, so we'll have a couple just shared. There we go. Okay, so we have coconuts, we have melons. Okay, so all we're going to do is list the combinations here in the chart that give us all of our income. So our income is $10. And remember the simple budget line equation I posted here in the chat. Okay, so the price of X times X, plus the price of Y times Y is got to equal M, which is our income. So we're just setting that up in a little table. Okay, so I'm going to write a simple formula saying the number of X's times this price plus the number of Y's times this price is going to equal $10, right? So equals. Okay, so well, I forgot what the prices were, but price of coconuts is $2 and the price of melons is $1. Okay, so my simple formula, once we put values into the coconuts and melons column, so we got 2, the price of coconuts, this is the PX, times how many coconuts we buy, plus PY, which is 1, times how many melons we buy, and the total is going to have to equal 10 to exhaust our budget. Okay, so I'm going to hit enter. And so we know that, let's say, we spend all our money on coconuts, okay? We know that if we have $10 and this costs $2, that we can buy 5. Okay, so if we buy 5 coconuts, we have no money left to spend on melons. Okay, so that's one combination that gives us 10. 5 coconuts, no melons, that's the intercept. Okay, what about if we buy 4 melons, 4 coconuts, and maybe 2 melons? Alright, that'll also give us 10. And you can see where we're going, so you can also buy 3 coconuts. Right, so these are all the combinations without fractions, where we can buy all coconuts, 5 of them. We can buy all melons, 10 of them, or we can buy all these different combinations. Each of these combinations of coconuts and melons are going to be on the budget line, and they're going to exhaust our income of $10, right? Okay, so everyone good so far? Well, I just had to set up the little chart. Okay, so part A, we did the table, and on your answer sheet, you either want to write down the table, or you can copy and paste it from Excel. That's what I'll do. There we go. There's the table with the combination. Now, part B, let's draw the budget line. So you can either just, it's going to be a straight line with the coconut intercept being 5 and the melon intercept being 10. So you can draw it on a piece of paper, or you can just have Excel graph it for you. All right, let's go back to the spreadsheet. Okay, if I was to select all the coconuts and all the melons and just do a simple graph like this. Okay, so if you're doing it in Excel, you just want to go to Insert, and then if you do the recommended charts, the one you want looks like this one. All right, just scatter with connected lines like that. All right, looks like a budget line. All right, there you go. And if you want, you can label your axes so you know which one is which. Okay, there you go. So there's all the points under, so that you can see that the points from the chart coincide with what's on your table or what's on your budget line. Okay, you got 5 and 0. You got 2 and 4. You got 3 and 4. You got 6 and 2. And so on. So all these points, all you gotta do is plot them. And that, by definition, is your budget line. It should look just like this. Okay, and if you're going to do it in Excel, then you got to put the copy and paste it, or put the chart into your answer sheet. There we go. There's our budget line. A few more questions under Part B. What's the slope of the budget line? Okay, so the slope is basically the rise over run, and it's a negative direction because if you gain more one good, you lose the other. There's an opportunity cost. So I think I defined it as negative. You can write it either way, but I think I had it as Px over Py. Yeah, I'll use the same exact formula just to be consistent. So the slope of the budget line is negative Px over Py. So you can just use that on your take-home exam. Okay, so what have we defined as x? So coconuts, the price of coconuts is $2. All right, and the price of melons, we'll call that good Y, is $1. Okay, so the slope is negative 2 over 1, which is just negative 2. All right, so you got a slope, and it really doesn't matter which good you pick as x or y. If it turned out that you made coconuts good y and melons good x, and you came up with negative 1/2, then that's fine too. So as long as you follow as long as the slope makes sense to where you place the good, it's still correct. So depending on where you put melons and coconuts, it's either negative 2 or negative 1/2. Okay, then the opportunity cost, remember these? So what's the opportunity cost of one more coconut? Okay, so you can look at the table, and you can see it's constant. Every time you gain a coconut, you lose 2 melons, right? Plus 1 minus 2, plus 1 minus 2. So every time you gain a coconut, you lose 2 melons. So 1 coconut is just minus 2 melons, yeah? Okay, what about the opportunity cost of 1 more melon? Okay, so every time you gain 2 melons, you lose a coconut. Alright, so you can start with that. Plus 2 melons equals minus 1 coconut. Alright, so that means that if you just divide both sides by 2, that every time you gain a coconut, you lose, every time you gain a melon, you lose half a coconut. So just divide by 2 to get it in terms of what one of the melons are. So 1 melon. Okay, so we got the budget line. We got the slope of the budget line, which is minus 2. And we get the opportunity cost of coconuts. 1 coconut is equal to minus 2 melons. And the opportunity cost of coconuts, opportunity cost of melons, 1 melon equals half a coconut. Okay, so part C. Now suppose your budget increases to $12, and now with the increased budget, let's construct a new budget line for part C. So I'm going to do this in Excel real quick. Just add the extra $2. Okay, so now the equation's the same, but it has to come out to 12 because our income is now 12. Alright, so that means we can now buy up to 6 coconuts. And then if you buy 5 coconuts and so on. Okay, so it's the same formula, but now our income is increased to 12. And so now it's CXX plus CYY equals M, but M is now 12. So the first time M or income was 10, now it's increased to 12, and that gives us an extra kind of increase. We can buy an extra coconut, or we can buy 2 extra melons. Alright, so to graph this, just do the same thing we did before, like this. Okay, and then I'll just label the axes, and then this one, you can see the intercept has shifted, where now this one from 10 to 12 for melons, and then this one from 5 to 6 for coconut. All right, and maybe I'll make this a new color so it's different from the previous. Okay, there's our graph for part C. I'm going to go ahead and put this into the answer sheet. All right, the final part of question number 1 is let's now, part D, due to increased demand for cocktails served in coconuts, let's suppose the price of coconuts increased to $4. All right, so now the price of one of the goods changed. It's going to shift or take the budget line because now coconuts are more expensive, everything else is the same. And let's show those changes on our new budget line. Okay, now I'll make one more little column for part D. Okay, so now this formula is different. It is not, we have the 2, px was 2, now that's 4. So you got to change that. Okay, so now it's 4 times x and plus 1 times y. The price of y is still $1. Okay, so we cannot buy 6 coconuts anymore because those are way more expensive. We could only buy 3. Okay, it looks like those are the possibilities, right? The max coconuts we can buy now with the $4 price is 3. Or we could buy 2 and 4, 1 and 8, or we can still buy 12 melons at $1 each. But you can see that the number of coconuts we can now buy with the price increase is much less. And you can plot this graph. Okay, there we go. So you can see the points from the table going to the new budget line, and the intercept has changed. Where this one is the same, but the price of this one went up, meaning we can buy less. So the intercept here went from 6 to 3, and you can see the new budget line is kind of kinked in. So this represents the $12 in income and the higher price of coconuts at $4. I'm gonna repaste this one real quick because it looks a little weird. Okay, there we go. So for question number 1, you just got to set up the simple equation and make a little chart of what you can buy, the different combinations of each. For B, just draw the original budget line. Then you'll probably define the slope and the opportunity cost, and then there's going to be a change in income. It's going to go up or down. In this case, income went up. The budget line shifts out. The intercepts are a little bit higher. In part D, one of the prices will go up or down. And in this case, the price of coconuts went up, showing the lower intercept for coconut. All right. So question number 1 is probably the longest one, but any questions on what we did here and what you're going to do for this one on the take-home exam? Okay, well, let's move on to number 2. If there's any questions that come up, let me know. Okay, number 2. This is like the chapter 2 homework question that we did. So with current technology, let's suppose DVD Incorporated is producing 100,000 DVDs daily. Assume that the least cost combination of resources in producing these DVDs is 1,000 units of labor, 100 units of land, 100 units of capital, and 1 unit of entrepreneurial ability, selling at prices of $10, $700, $800, and $900 respectively. A firm can sell these 100,000 DVDs at $1 each. What's its revenue, its cost, its profit or loss? And let's start with those things. So let's first get the firm's revenue. Yes? All right. So revenue is always price. There's only one good, so it's the price of the good times the quantity we sell. Right? So price times quantity. Okay. This part's pretty easy, but the price is $1, and we're selling 100,000 of them. All right. So that gives us a nice even revenue of $100,000. Okay, the cost is you add up all the costs of all the individual items that go into the input process. So we got to pay for four things. Those things being labor, land, capital, and entrepreneurial ability. And then we got to pay, so we add up all the numbers we use of each and our cost. And then we got to pay each unit its cost. So, labor, we need 100 of those. Sorry, we need 1,000 labor. Those cost $10 each. Okay, we need 100 units of land. And those cost 700. We need 800 units of, 100 units of capital at $800. And then finally, 1 unit of entrepreneurial ability at a price of $900. Okay, so I'm just going to sort of make a note that each of these things is the individual or the itemized cost per unit, or total cost of all that type. Okay, there you go. So this shows that that's the cost, the total cost of labor, the total cost of land, the total cost of capital, and the total cost of entrepreneurial ability. And then let's just add all these things together, and that's our total cost. Okay, so if I put this in a calculator, it gets something like, okay, hold on, let me calculate this. I lost it. All right, so I think that's what we should get is 160,900. Okay, next part is to calculate profit or loss. Okay, so profit or loss is revenue minus cost, how much we make minus the cost of production. Okay, this being a DVD company looks like it's not very profitable, but let's let's determine that for sure, where we got a revenue of 100,000, but this business costs us daily 160,900. And we're taking a loss here of negative 60,900. Alright, so we got the revenue, we got the cost, we got the profit or loss. In this case, it's a loss. So is this company going to continue to produce DVDs given this daily loss? Probably not, because it doesn't look like a good business given the cost. So it's going to stop producing DVDs at some point. Okay, and then will resources flow toward this good? Probably not. Doesn't seem like this is a profitable enterprise selling DVDs. And so no, they'll flow away from this good. Okay, so there's that one. Questions on the question number 2? All right, so we'll move on to question 3 and solve that one. Okay, question number 3 from chapter 3, supply and demand. Let's suppose demand and supply for a good are given by the demand function of QD equals 950 minus 3P, and quantity supplied QS equals 2P minus 50. Part A, let's solve for the equilibrium price and quantity. All right, so these are linear functions. There's only one price and quantity in which they're both equal. That's what we're going to solve for. So let's first, we'll know that equilibrium, QD equals QS, and we can solve for P there. Okay, so first, at equilibrium, the quantity demanded has to equal the quantity supplied. So let's do that. Let's set those two equal, and then we'll solve for the price that equates those two. Yeah? So we'll get QD 950 minus 3P. And at equilibrium, that's going to be equal to QS, which is 2P minus 50. All right, and then let's do some algebra and solve for the price in which these two equations would be equal. Okay, so let's add 3P to both sides, and let's add 50 to both sides. So if we add 3P to both sides, we get 5P, and if we add 50 to both sides, we get 950 plus 50 is 1,000. Right? We just do some algebra. We get 5P equals 1,000, then obviously just divide by 5. Okay, so 1,000 divided by 5 gives us a nice even equilibrium price of $200. Okay, then once you get the price, what you want to do is plug it into both of the equations, and if you get the same quantity, which you should, then that's the market quantity, right? So a price of 200 should give us a QD and a QS of the same thing, which is going to be the market quantity, right? So let's confirm that. Okay, so QD equals 950 minus 3P. Let's plug in our price of 200. All right, we'll plug in 200 there, and let's solve for this. We get 950 minus 600. Okay, and 950 minus 600 is 350. So let's go double check that supply is also equal to 350 at a price of 200, and then if so, that's our Q star. All right, so quantity supplied equals 2P minus 50. Let's plug in our price of 200 and confirm that we get 350. All right, plug in 200 there, and we're going to get 400 minus 50. Okay, what's 400 minus 50? That's obviously 350, so we confirmed. Alright, market price is 200, which gives us, at that market price, demand is 350, supply is 350, which means Q star, or market quantity, is also 350. Okay, part B, you give a little statement on supply and demand, and you got to figure out what happens to the equilibrium price and quantity. So assume that both the supply of DVDs and the demand for DVDs decreases. However, the magnitude of the demand shift is larger compared to the supply shift. Alright, so they both decrease, but it tells you that the bigger or the larger shift is the demand decrease. Okay? So what can you conclude about the directions of the impacts on equilibrium price and quantity? So we should be able to figure out what happens to market price and market quantity after the two shifts with enough information that's given here. Okay, so if both supply and demand decrease, then obviously we're going to be left with a lower market quantity. So Q star has to decrease. You know that. Okay, now you have to figure out what happens to price. And so with the information you're given, you should be able to figure out what happens here. So let's see. Both the curves decrease. And let's start with, so if when demand decreases, that means that demand is lower, so the consumers are going to have to buy at lower prices. So a decrease in demand puts downward pressure on the price. Okay. Also, supply decreases as well. And if supply decreases, that means it's not as profitable for these firms, and they need to get higher market prices to sell the DVDs to stay in the market. So a decrease in supply puts upward pressure on the price. It's the opposite effect. Okay, but it tells you right here that the demand shift is larger in magnitude. Okay, so if demand decreases, that puts downward pressure on the price. If supply decreases, that puts upward pressure on the price. But we know now that the demand shift is larger in magnitude. So given this information, what can you determine happens to the mean market price after the two shifts? So does anyone know what happens here? Okay, so it's pretty simple because this puts downward pressure on the price, supply puts upward pressure on the price, but the demand shift is bigger, so therefore that shift is going to determine the result. So since the demand shift is larger, the result is going to be the price goes down because that was the bigger shift. So the downward pressure on the price from demand was the dominant effect. Okay. So for number 2, you'll get, number 3 on your take-home exam, you'll get a linear supply and demand equation. You're going to solve set them equal and find price and quantity. And then you'll get just a statement about supply and demand, and you should be able to determine what happens to the new market price and the new market quantity after the shift. All right. So, any questions on anything so far? Okay. All right. Let's move on. If questions come up, just let me know. All we're doing today is the review, so I just want to make sure everyone feels good about the exam. I mean, it's a take-home exam, so it's not that much. It's not timed or anything. All right, number 4. Let's look at another example of elasticity. So this, remember this one we went over last week. So there were some questions on this one in the homework assignment. So make sure that you're good on this one. All right, so let's assume the following for toothpaste. So point A, the price of toothpaste is $5 a tube, and demand is 1 million. And then when the price goes up to $8, the demand goes down to 900,000. All right, so you can just plot points A and B. All right, we did this before, and then draw a simple demand curve for toothpaste. I'll do this quickly in Excel. So this part you can do in Excel, or you can just draw it on graphing paper. So let me go back to the spreadsheet we're using. All right, so at a price our two prices were $5 and $8. And at $5, the demand was $1 million. Okay. And at a price of $8, the demand was $900,000. All right. So all we're going to do here is plot the points and make a simple, 2-point graph of demand. Okay, so this is the option, scatter with lines, scatter with smooth lines and marker. So it looks like you got the 2 points and just connect them, connect the dots. Okay, I think I wanted the other way. I want price on the y-axis, so I'm just going to flip the columns real quick. Okay, there you go. So the default is like this. So you'd like to have, for a demand curve, you'd like to have price on the y-axis and demand on the x, just like this. Okay, so I can make a little label. Okay, that's the price of toothpaste, and this down here is the quantity of toothpaste. All right, and yeah, okay. If you wanted, you can put the points on the graph like this, but you don't have to do this. But if you did, you can do click on the graph, and if you right click it like this, and you should see an option called Add Data Labels, and then after that, Add Data Callouts. That'll give you the points. Okay, there you go. You don't have that's optional, but you can see I put the points actually on there. There's point A where you got 1,000,005, and point B where you got 900,000 and $8. Okay, I'm going to copy and paste this into the answer sheet. Okay, part B, the important part, when the price rises from $5 to $8, okay, what's the response of this in demand? So what is the price elasticity of demand when the price changes? So we know that when price goes up, demand goes down, but how responsive was demand in this particular case? And that's going to give us the elasticity. So let's use our formula. Okay, so remember the elasticity is the change in the percent change in quantity divided by the percent change in price. Okay, but remember our simple equation in equation terms, that's just from when you go from point A to point B, that's the change over the original. So we call it like this. Alright, so our equation is Q1 minus Q0 over Q0. Alright, that's the percent change in quantity demanded, divided by P1 minus P0 over P0, which is the percent change in price. So it's the change in both over the original, and both of those will give you exactly the percent change, which is going to be the elasticity. So let's go ahead and put our numbers. Okay, so Q1 is the new price, the quantity at point B, which is 900,000. Now Q0 is the original quantity at point A, so that's a million. Okay, so divided by Q0, which is again 1 million. All right, then let's do the price part. So P1 is the new price, $8. P0 is the original price of $5. Okay, then divided by P0. So if you put this in your calculator or whatever you want to do, you'll get some estimate of the price elasticity of demand. All right, so let me calculate this real quick. Okay, I got roughly negative 0.17. Yeah, that seems right. Negative 0.17. Okay, part C. Would you classify this good as relatively elastic or relatively inelastic based on the responsiveness? So all you're going to do is take the absolute value of your elasticity. Yeah? Okay, so the absolute value of negative 0.17, just remove the negative. Okay, and check if that's bigger than or less than or equal to 1. It's obviously less than 1. Okay, so if the elasticity in absolute value is less than 1, that by definition means that the responsiveness of demand was less than the change in price. So this part was lower than this part, meaning that this good doesn't respond as much to price, right? It's more rigid, and therefore, by definition, it's relatively inelastic. Okay, so for the elasticity question on your exam, just plot the points. Then you can use this equation and just calculate the elasticity. And once you get that for part C, take this number, take the absolute value of it, and if it's less than 1, it's inelastic. If it's bigger than 1, it's elastic. All right. Any questions on this one? Okay. Last one, number 5, is from chapter 5, and this is one on taxes. So here we go. Suppose in LA, there's no tax on the first 40,000 earned. There's a 15% tax on earnings between 40,000 and 50,000. There's a 17.5% tax on income between 50,000 and 60,000, and then finally income above 60,000 is taxed at 20%. Okay, if you earn $80,000, how much will you pay in taxes? What are your marginal and average rates? And is this progressive, proportional, or regressive? All right. So the first thing I like to do for this one is just put a little chart with the tax structure. All right. So the income ranges and then the tax rate. Okay, so no tax on the first 40,000. Income between 40,000 and 50,000 is taxed at 15%. And income between 50,000 and 60,000 is taxed at 17.5%. And any income above that exceeds 60,000 is taxed at 20%. Okay, so there's the tax structure. Let's go ahead and determine if your income is 80,000, how much you're going to pay in taxes. Okay, so again, let's just go through the tax brackets, and we'll pay the percent of tax in that given period. So we'll start with the first one. There's going to be no tax paid, but let's make sure that we include it just in case. So for the first 40,000, there's nothing's paid. Now for all income between 40,000 and 50,000 is taxed at 15%. Okay, so we've exceeded that, so we got to pay 15% of all that, the 10,000 in that range. Okay, then if we make between 50,000 and 60,000, which we do, we get tax that the $10,000 in that range at 17.5%. Okay, so that's 0.175. Okay, then the rest, anything above 60,000 is taxed at 20%. Okay, so that means that we have, if the income here is 80,000, then we have, it's only the income that exceeds 20,000, so the remainder is 20,000. So the income we have above 60,000 is 20 more thousand. Okay, so that last 20,000 is taxed at 20%. Okay, and you should notice that, or note that the income, if you sum up the income in all the items, it should equal your total income of 80,000. So 40,000 plus 10,000 plus 10,000 plus 20,000 is our income of 80,000. All right, so now we're going to just put this in the calculator. All right, so I got 7,250. Okay, so the marginal tax rate is the tax rate on the next dollar earned. Okay, and since we're already in the highest possible tax bracket in the structure, then every additional dollar we earn is going to be taxed at 20%. So that's the marginal tax rate is going to be, if you're over 60,000, it's always going to be 20%. Okay, so the average tax rate is just the taxes paid relative to your income. So just divide taxes paid by income. Okay, taxes paid was 7,250. So we paid 7,250 out of 80,000. So our income's 80,000. That's roughly 0.09, or otherwise, in percent terms, that's not, if you multiply it by 100, that's 9%. Okay, so we got taxes paid, we got the marginal tax rate, we got the average tax rate, and then is this tax system progressive, proportional, or regressive? And it's going to be progressive because if your average tax rate increases with your income, which it does, it's progressive. Okay, questions on this one? Okay, so or any questions on any of the stuff we did? Everyone feels good about the questions that are going to be on the exam?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let me go ahead and post the actual exam on Blackboard. All right, so there you go. If you go on Blackboard and you go to the midterm 1 2020 section, midterm 1 fall 2020. Okay, here's the practice exam we just did, and I will post the solutions we just did together right here in a little bit. And then your actual midterm is this one, midterm 1, fall 2020. So I posted a Word document and a PDF. They're both the same exact thing. So whichever one you want to use is fine, but some students like to kind of use the Word document and then write the answers after the question, so you can do that. Or you got the PDF too. So let me pull up this. Okay, here you go. Here's your midterm 1. It gives you instructions on what to do with it. So if you could make your answer sheet as a PDF or a Word document, that would be preferred. It's easier for me to grade those as opposed to just photos. And then it says this is due by week 6, Wednesday, October 7th, which is next Wednesday. And please just email it to me at my normal email address. So just email me your answer sheet within a week. All right, and you'll see that you got similar questions. You got one on budget lines. You got one on calculating revenue, cost, and profit. And you got one on supply and demand. You got one on elasticity, and you got one on taxes. So you should be familiar. The questions are all different and new, but you should be familiar with the concepts because we've done a bunch of examples of each. Yeah. Okay, so this, and then I'll update your grades for your homeworks later this week. So I'll put the grades up for homework chapter 4 and chapter 5 sometime later this week. And so make sure you get chapter 5 homework in today. Chapter 5 homework is due today right here. And then the midterm is due via email by next Wednesday. Okay. All right. Any additional questions on the midterm or what you have to do for that? Okay. I'll post tonight's video on YouTube if you need to refer to that, and I'll post the solutions to the practice exam. But let me know if you have questions regarding the take-home midterm 1. If not, I think that's all I have for today. So hopefully the review helped go through the problems. Midterms due next Wednesday. Everyone enjoy the rest of your week. Stay safe, and I'll see everyone. And we'll start kind of the second third of the class next Wednesday. But yeah, everyone have a good week, and midterms due in a week. What is the YouTube? Okay, so the YouTube channel is here. I think on Blackboard. All right, and if you click on the link to the YouTube page, and if you go here and you go to playlist, and then if you go to this class, which is Econ 228. All right, so these are all the WebEx meetings that we've had. So you can click on all of those and watch the past WebEx meeting. All right, and I'll get to Mr. Beast. Okay. Okay. That's it for tonight. If you have a question, let me know. But everyone, have a good week and stay safe.